Good evening or good night, New York. Salut. Salut, madame. Merci, mais je vais répéter exactement la même chose. Non. I'm a French philosopher coming from Paris, France. It is the explanation of my terrific accent in English. I have a main goal as a philosopher, and this goal is to produce or to write clear philosophy. And nothing is more difficult in philosophy than being clear and write and speak simple. So, we are the weavers. It's the title of my lecture. I think that the expression "we are the weavers" is quite strange for you, and my goal will be to explain it clearly. The weavers, perhaps have you heard about it, was the name of an American music group, folk song, created by Pete Seegers in the 50s. The title of their most famous song was Goodbye, Irene. But don't worry, I'm not going to sing this evening. I'll try to explain to you why I have chosen this title, The Weavers, for my last book, published in Paris, France, in 2016. Historically, the weaver is this craftsman which works a loom, which uses a weaving machine to create beautiful fabrics and carpets. So, metaphorically, I imagine the concept of the weaver as it can be each of us trying to form ties to take care of the quality of the links between himself and the others, or between people in general. So my philosophical or ethical weaver is each of us trying and caring to weave good links, to create good and fair connections, and which makes a daily effort to develop within the humanity closer and better links, links of respect, tolerance, share, justice, peace, non-violence, as Gandhi said, friendship and compassion. What more difficult? Indeed, it is a real struggle for two reasons, the one internal and the other one outside. Inside, it is a hard work to settle in ourselves the peace necessary to establish good relationship with others. And outside, it is a collective challenge for us all to replace our current society based on individualism, communitarianism, rivalry and competition by a new one based on much more share and much more mutual understanding. Well. I suppose it's time to call it a night, and then, as our mothers did when we were children, I'll start by telling you a story. Not a fairy tale, sorry, but a few episodes of my life story, especially as I am or try to be a philosopher. Through this story, you will understand better, I hope so, how I arrived at this weaver's notion. Therefore, telling you about my life will not be the expression of a narcissistic fixing, but the way to show how a journey of thought is also a journey of life. Otherwise, the thought of the philosopher floats in the space of what is just a theory, an abstract speculation. The story life I'll tell you about is like all of yours. It is simply the story of a few main awarenesses. The first of them, of these awarenesses, took place in 2001. I was 30 years old. The 9/11 attacks against the Twin Towers made me realize something very important. Made me realize that our human world risked to divide, to split into conflicting civilizations. That was the first tragic event that alerted me, that warned me on what will become a main theme or topic of my books: the severity of the break of our links of mutual understanding between civilizations, when those civilizations begin to consider each other as too different, and when they lose both hope and goodwill of mutual knowledge and recognition, when they let the fear settle down and do no more efforts to share values. So for several years, my main effort of thought as a philosopher was to establish links between the two visions, Western and Islamic, and to demonstrate that the clash of civilizations, predicted by Samuel Huntington, would not be a fate, a fatality, if we can prove, for example, that in Islam, as a religion and civilization, there is a real possibility to accept democracy, equality between women and men, personal freedom towards the traditional law that is called Sharia, and that all these things and values were not a threat for this culture and faith, but can be accepted by the Muslims without denying their identity or history. Very hard work. Very hard work, but now I'm glad to see many Muslims, women and men, coming towards me to tell me, thank you. You allowed me to understand that I can be at the same time Muslim and modern, Muslim and liberal, Muslim and Democrat, Muslim and have free choice of my spiritual life. Even, of course, the legitimate choice to change religion or have no more, if I want. It is what I call self-Islam, personal Islam, spiritual life which is not submission to an outside law, but link with our most inner self. So, another story of links, of quality of links. Then I became aware gradually that this crisis between Muslims and Muslim and Western world was only one of the symptoms of a much general crisis. It is indeed not only the link between civilizations that is torn, but also many other major links, especially, as you know, the link between the humanity and the nature, ecological crisis, the link between the rich and the poor people, crisis of the worsening of the inequalities all over the world. And realizing that, I started to see how much the topic of the links was central. I started to realize that this concept of link was probably one of the most important paradigms to understand the present day and the coming century. En français, le temps présent et le siècle à venir. Consequently, I widened my search and my reflection largely beyond the question of Islam and started to develop one main thesis. We all have now to become weavers, in the sense that our commitment is to repair together the torn tissue of the world. Each of us shares or has this responsibility to contribute to that big deal, to that big mission, by acting where he is, with his own strength, and the strengths of the people who live around him. So, for us all, there are especially three major links to repair, and that each of us can contribute or help to repair wherever he lives. These three major links are: 1, the link with others; 2, the link with nature; and 3, last but not least, the link with ourselves. These are the links who suffer the most in our societies and personal lives. Either these links are broken, or these links became, in our current societies, chains, links which bind. The link with nature is damaged or lost. Our human species became the parasite of the alive that we plunder and poison. The link between us is not good. Rich and poor lived more and more separated, far from each other. Gated or closed communities are more and more numerous, separated not only by the difference of the level of wealth, but also by cultural wars between cultural wars which threaten everywhere. The differences of religion, culture, ethnic group, origin, choice of lifestyle, morals, and system of values. As for the link to oneself, it is not in better state. How much of us suffer, indeed, to live a superficial life, not connected to our inner self, without any connection with our most inner personality and dreams, but lost daily in a job, for example, that allows us to earn money and have recreation or entertainment, but with no real enough link between the life we have and the person we are. So, of course, we can think that these findings are too general or too dark. For me, it is not something which makes me discouraged or be desperate. On the contrary, it allows me to take an overall view of the world in which we live, and to know much better what has really to be done, what really requires my commitment, our commitment, the direction of my efforts as a philosopher and as a citizen. And I can sum up this by saying that my responsibility for the world, and that our collective responsibility, is now, I said before, to repair together the torn tissue of the world. This goal, this purpose, has two advantages. One, it is based on a global vision of the world, on a global diagnosis of the reality in which we live. And I think that it is very precious because we generally feel ourselves exceeded by the complexity of the problems and incapable to have such an overall view and to direct our action. And second advantage of this diagnosis, it allows us, each of us, to commit himself or herself in a local way where he is, where he works, with people who are around him. What could be more requiring than to take care of the quality of the triple link to oneself, to the others, and to the nature? And what could be more urgent today? The link with others has to be made of mutual respect, tolerance, but also solidarity, sharing, cooperation, care, compassion, brotherhood, and love. What is both more difficult and currently required? What is more necessary to be cultivated if we want to grow in humanity and deserve our name of human beings? Erasme de Rotterdam, the prince of the Humanists of the Renaissance, has written somewhere that, quote, "We are not born human, we become human. We have to become human. We are not born brotherly or sisterly. We can become it by our own efforts. We so have to learn as soon as possible to become weavers of the ethical link with each of our human sister and brother. As soon as possible means at school and thanks to the family education. The link with nature would also be made of respect and care, especially towards animals, wisdom and responsibility in the use of its resources, and also, it is a part of the link with the nature, contemplation of its beauty, meditation about its creative power and its mysteries. Just as nature is not only, as ecologists often present her, a fragile little gift to be protected, but also, I think, a great mistress of wisdom. And finally, the link with ourselves is a matter of self-knowledge, self-respect, self-esteem, and it concerns our personal capacity to find an agreement to make circulate the energy between our most inner self and our life, between our heart, our soul, and our life path. This life path has to be illuminated by our secret inner light. But how deep is this inner light? How difficult to reach, how difficult it is to dig in ourselves until her. How difficult it is to build our lives or express our full potential from the inspiration and guidance of our most inner self. It is a matter of meditation, perhaps a matter of if you pray in this way or purpose to explore yourself, to explore the deeper meaning of your life, the ultimate dimension of your identity, and not only to ask something to God. So, all that goes. Improve the link with ourselves, improve the link with others, improve the link to the nature. All these goals are not easy to achieve. It requires, I said it, a commitment, a personal decision, a daily resolution, and all the lifelong to work to be oneself transformed towards these goals. And it demands also another condition, not personal but collective, social and political. Nothing less, I think, than a pacific revolution of our societies, starting by a revolution of education, just as being able to practice this quality of links needs to be cultivated as early as possible. Thus, the issue is how to create or recreate our lives and our societies so that they become what I often call ecosystems of good links. A part of the answer is simple, a part only. Give ourselves concretely the ways to pursue these purposes. To become weavers requires two kinds of action. One, an action of each of us to build and to lead his life in this direction, and two, a collective action as citizens, and everywhere we live together in our professional relationships, etc., and in all our other social commitments and objectives. I believe, as a philosopher, I should better say I think, but hope and faith are also useful for a philosopher. So I believe and think that we have now the clear, major spiritual and political responsibility to repair our links. the strength of dissolution of the world became too dangerous. Too many broken links, or too many links of domination which strangle us. We saw a gentle need to remember that our humanity, without good links, dies. I, the alone human being, I'm nothing. I'm nothing, I have no strength. I just live an illusion if I don't try to connect with my interiority, to connect to the others, to connect to the whole nature and universe. And what I say is not a belief, it's an experience. It's my personal experience. Without these links, I'm nothing, I'm nobody. I'm able to do nothing. But we have grown in societies that always repeat to us, be an individual, be an individual, be an individual. Do the things by yourself. Of course I have to do many things by myself, but without the others, I'm nobody. And I will never reach anything. So, a spiritual experience, it is a spiritual experience to realize that I'm nothing without the others, just as our spiritual life, when I say...
Philosophy died until 7 a.m. Right now, I invite you to come down to the grand lobby for a 2 a.m. performance by Scott Matthew.
So let's go. Voice of God, and good news, God is a woman. So, I think that our spiritual life, it's my conclusion, and when I say spiritual life, it is not necessarily a religious life. Our spiritual life starts as soon as we are experimenting something bigger than we, which crosses us, who calls us both from very far inside and very far outside. That's all. Thank you from heart for your attention.